those are our two goals. It's win champions and prove that we are a worthy VCT team for Riot to partner with. And I immediately picked up my phone and I shed a couple tears just because of how important it was to me, not only monetarily for our organization in the long run, but really just because of what we've been through and taking the risk and the gamble. Right now we have 0 sponsors, so it's important for us to gather all that data so that we can go out and say, hey, we have a fan base.
Obviously, we saw the change of the VCT format going from pre-partnership to then partnership into 2023. Famously, Optic was not selected. What do you think was the reason why the org wasn't selected, if you can share?
And I'll just leave it really simple. Like, we just didn't do some things in the application process that should have gotten done. It's different when you're not using other people's money, which most organizations do these days. They're essentially, they have venture capital investors or private equity investors. So it's different when, essentially you're risking everything, your financial well-being to do what we love to do.
Hey guys, this is Pedro back with another interview, this time covering the VCT as a whole, not really covering any particular league. We're in the off-season now, so we're just waiting for the next VCT Americas season to kick off. And one of those teams that will be making their appearance in said league is none other than Envy. Of course, they won their respective VCT Ascension tournament a few days ago by the time of the recording. And as for the person that I'm talking to by my side is none other than Hastr0, Mike Rufail. Hastr0, he is the current founder and current owner of the Envy organization, giving me the opportunity to do this quick interview about the entire process and all of that good stuff. And so, Hastr0, pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for the opportunity, like I said. And first and foremost, we're seeing Envy return to Tier 1 competition after a gap of 4 years. Has the emotion, has that significance finally settled into you at this current moment in time?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think it's settled in now that we made it. I think for the first 2 days it was unbelievable, though. We were just trying to figure out what's next. There's a lot of work to do when we make it. When we made it back into VCT, so there's just a lot going on. But yeah, the feeling was good, but a little bit of shock, that we actually achieved that goal, because it was such a difficult task. Honestly, just so much talent in the Americas region, between South America and North America, and having the team, have this one goal for the entire year, and to go down to Sao Paulo and have to be there for 3 weeks. I mean, there were so many variables that, and hurdles that we had to jump over. So yeah, it was a little bit of shock. And, but at the same time, the guys had assured me the entire season that they were going to win this. They were always just so confident. And I think that's a big factor in why we won.
It just speaks to, as you said, like the confidence of this team to go all the way and win Ascension. I do know that you were observing the entire thing back in like the headquarters in the Envy headquarters in Texas, and so obviously the emotion was definitely felt in that grand finals. And like you even said, like heading into the grand finals against TSM, this was probably like the most important match for this organization in recent memory. Were you the most nervous as you've ever been, like in your entire career? Would that be fair to say also?
Yeah, I would actually say it's just there's a lot of backstory, right? But basically, I'm self-funding the org with my business partner Dean, and Dean was the owner of Native Gaming, came merged with us, and yeah, it's different when you're not using other people's money, which most organizations do these days. They're essentially, they have venture capital investors or private equity investors. So it's different when, essentially you're risking everything, your financial well-being to do what we love to do. And yeah, it was just a lot more nerve-wracking, like going through the process, essentially, especially like when we started boot camping for Ascension. We sent the team down to Sao Paulo, and Team Liquid has a really nice boot camp facility there. And I have some friends there at Liquid. Victor Goosens, the founder of Liquid, is a very good friend of mine. So I messaged him, and ever since that moment where we started boot camping, the nerves started kicking in, and I was just so anxious. I just wanted to watch the team play. I just wanted them to play, and it was this feeling like I just wanted it to be over, because it was every day was just, it was just such a anxious feeling. and and I've been doing this almost 20 years, and I've been to some of the biggest events with our team. We've won some of the biggest events in front of 20,000 people in an arena. It's and I get a little bit nervous at those too, but this was like weeks of it of nerves.
I mean, I'm sure, as you said, this team basically promised you an Ascension victory in the time leading up to this competition. Did you even have doubts, like slightest doubts, that this was not going to happen or anything of that nature?
Yeah, I mean, look, we had really good opponents. I mean, honestly, like it felt like there were two or three teams in that Ascension tournament that should be in Tier 1. Like they're so prepared. Um, Especially TSM. I mean, I can't say enough good stuff about that team. Like unbelievable players on that team, and I'm sure we're seeing a lot of them in Tier 1 this year. Um, but yeah, I had confidence in the guys the whole time, because I think our play style is very distinguished against other teams, and we had that feeling, throughout the season that a lot of teams just couldn't consistently handle, the fragging power of our team, like the ability that our team had, the aim that our team had, plus just the reaction speed and the style of play that we had was just different. And it's still different, I think, all the way through Ascension. So, but then you saw some teams like we felt like had prepared for us heavily. And it was very obvious in some rounds where, you could just see the team the opponents were making like a team effort to clear an area, with utility that typically you wouldn't see in the beginning of rounds. And so like they knew some of our tactics. And yeah, I mean at that moment, I think we were a little less confident because we were facing really great opponents who were extremely prepared.
I mean, shortly after the match or the grand finals finished up, I'm kind of curious on like what was your phone like, the notifications, like what was that like wildness, like emotion, like or more so aftermath, like for you as the owner.
Yeah, I mean I keep the notifications off, of our like social media accounts that I have access to, so that it doesn't go too crazy, and I just always keep them off because, I like to try to just focus on my work and whatever I'm doing in my daily life. But yeah, the response when we went to look, is obviously huge, and we get as an organization, of course, we gather all those analytics and things to help our partners out, or potential partners. Right now, we have zero sponsors, so it's important for us to gather all that data so that we can go out and say, hey, we have a fan base. This is what it looks like. This is how many people are paying attention to us or watching us. So yeah, I didn't really gauge it from notifications, but the emotions after that match. I mean, I immediately picked up my phone and I shed a couple tears just because of how important it was to me. Not only monetarily for our organization in the long run, but really just because of what we've been through and taking the risk and the gamble. I mean, it's like a risk everything scenario, for me specifically, to bring Envy back, So yeah, but I immediately picked up my phone, recorded a video for everybody on X, and this is the happy moment. Period.
I want to now backtrack over to just sort of the genesis of this NV Valorant team, and there was a screenshot. I think maybe you pointed out, or maybe like so on and so forth, about like you expressing your interest as to going back into Valorant, and it was like literally Inspire saying or giving you a reply on that tweet saying, "Hey, we got a team, Rankers. Are you down to sign us?" Was that literally the main the main
Yeah.
reason?
Yeah, so I had just gotten access back to the Envy social media. I was the only one with access to it. I tweeted like we're back, and a lot of people were responding to that. And then Hunter, Inspire responded to it with, "Hey, could you sign my team Rankers?" So like of course, like I saw that, I went and looked and started watching their gameplay, and then I went on like VLR and saw that they were 23-0, I think was their record in challengers at the time. Like they were undefeated. So then I watched some more gameplay. I spent like maybe 2 days doing it, and then I reached out to Hunter and I said, like, I immediately saw they were different. I have a lot of experience, watching gameplay. It's like my whole life. It's my whole career is just watching these players, the best players in the world, and working with them. When we sign players to identify talent and help them realize their full potential. So I saw a lot of talent when I was watching their games. And I spent maybe, I don't know, 10 hours or so watching like their old matches. And I called Hunter, and said, like, hey, like, we're bringing Nibby back. How will we make this work? And it just went from there.
So like literally you were the GM. I would assume that you've already had like some people like ready to go, at the start of this second iteration of this NV organization. So you literally just you just working the ship on that time.
Man, I'm the ultimate GM, I say, because like, at the end of the day, I run the organization, but I'm a former professional player playing Call of Duty myself for many years back in starting in 2006 to 2013. I played a lot. And but I've also managed a major world championship winning Counter-Strike team, and some other games, we have Overwatch and so on, and so I just think over the years I've developed a skill for just identifying, being able to watch a few rounds and seeing like who's got what, and yeah, it was like a super easy decision. I mean, I can't even believe, to be honest, that when they were like at that level at 23-0, there weren't other organizations like taking a shot on them. So thank you, for letting them come through, because it's like we compete with all the other orgs out there, and it's really the competition between orgs is like how to secure the best talent, and then how do you mold that talent, and how do you like support that talent to realize, to unlock every bit of talent they have, and so anyway, the first step in that is like getting that talent under your organization, and I was just blown away that these guys were available.
I mean, it's a wild thing to consider, just given looking into just sort of like, as you said, the attention for this team and how there's probably lack of opportunities for them, and given how the state of the tier 2 scene is right now in Valorant, and many people have kind of given their words as to like, oh, like it's not really good, there's not many orgs and not much investment into it, which might have a lot of reasons for that. I digress, though. The point that I'm trying to ask you is this: given how you viewed the management, how you've been looking at your investment into tier 2 and now seeing the success of this team, how do you kind of look at it from like, or how do you kind of compare it from like the outside looking in and now kind of actually being a part of it? Do you feel like there's a disparity between like just sort of how the people view the tier 2 aspect of North American Valorant and compared to how it actually is?
Well, yeah, I have a couple opinions there. Well, I think it is a very, very challenging, no pun intended, circuit to achieve the main goal in, right? Because only one team ascends out of this entire region. I mean, we're talking about two continents with some of the best fraggers and aimers and, the talent, smarts, intellectual players in the world, right? Like playing Valorant. And so you have to have the team. Your goal is to be the one team that ascends while you play months of competition to get there. And it's like I think a lot of people's opinions of tier 2. I mean, the talent is incredible. I mean, I'm telling you, it's like I honestly think it's the best feeder system I've ever seen, because the talent is so raw and good, right? In tier 2 Valorant, at least in the Americas, and I think it's the same way in the other regions as well. From what I've seen, there's just a lot of talent trying to make it to tier 1 Valorant and to VCT. So in that sense, it's a very, very good feeder system into tier 1. I would say it is challenging, though, again, because there's only one team that makes it, right? And in the past, that the only way you could play against the VCT teams was to be that one team to come through Ascension. But I think Riot has realized that, because their plans for next year are to allow the challengers teams to play at champions to qualify through, and they're giving other opportunities for tier 2 teams to play against tier 1 teams. And I think that's just a much better environment that's going to improve on their already good environment, if that makes sense. So yeah, I mean, Riot's doing things, and they're doing things well already, like really well. But I feel like they're also like making some really nice changes to improve that esports ecosystem. I come from a world where we used to have these major open bracket tournaments all over the country and all over the world, specifically with like the Major League Gaming days. And I'm like very passionate that is the right way to go, because you want to give the upcoming talent a place where they can show that they deserve to be a tier 1. and I felt like yeah, it was just very difficult to do that with only having one team come through. And so now I feel like the changes that we have for 2026 that we've already read about are the right changes. So yeah,
Well, one thing that strikes my mind in regards to like what you said about the current ecosystem is how like in the video in that same video you put in after winning challengers or Ascension, you called like Riot Games like one of the best or probably the best video game publishers in the world in relation to like the management of the esports, their respective
yeah.
esports competitions. And with that said, do you feel like as of right now, as it is right now, given your experience and your work with other publishers and covering other games, are they number one, like genuinely for you in your mind?
Yeah, yeah, I think they are. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that happens. I think behind the scenes to build these esports leagues up, and there's a lot of investment into those esports leagues. Like I still am a huge League of Legends fan. Also, like I play the game all the time. I stay up until 3 in the morning to watch LCK. I watch Worlds, every year. I'm like addicted to as a fan of League of Legends. Even though we haven't had a team, we had a team in 2016, 17. Um, and I would love to kind of go back there one day as well, but I just feel like over the years they've started to adapt and learn more about how to continually make their ecosystems thrive. And I think they've tried some things that maybe haven't worked recently, but that's not, you can't fault like a game publisher for trying new things. You want them to try new things to continue to grow, and if they don't work, they can always revert or make more changes. And I think Riot has shown that they're like really committed to that. Those changes mean that they care, and even when they don't work out, they can make more changes. And so they've just been really fluid as a game studio or publisher. I actually think you call them a game studio. I don't think they're technically a publisher, but um, yeah, they're just, and their games are just so high quality, man. Like the games are just so good, so fun to watch, and they're continually making more games and more genres. And we couldn't be happier to partner with them now, and would hope that they choose us as a long term partner next year.
Um, Kind of now want to pivot over to another conversation or another topic that you kind of alluded to sometime earlier in the conversation. You mentioned about how you're basically running the org by yourself, and it's a vast contrast to how
Oh,
it was in the
I do
beginning.
have I have a good staff now.
Yeah,
I was just saying it
yeah,
when we
yeah,
first got it back, and I messaged Hunter. It was just me, kind of coming back. But yeah,
yeah,
we have a good, solid, strong support staff now. Just so you know,
yeah.
a lot of my old staff came back, so pretty much 90% of our staff prior to 2017. 2017. A few of them were there till 2020 with me, but people that have worked with me for over a decade. I have a staff of 15 now that works with
Mhm.
me.
Yeah, point being that I was trying to say though is it's vastly different compared to like how funded the organization is, because you mentioned also in one of your tweets earlier this year is that at the start of this second iteration of this NV team is that quote, we aren't a venture capital or private equity funded org anymore, and so it is really special for us to go out and compete at the highest level against these orgs who are at that career position. What I'm trying to ask you now is how at this current stage of this team, kind of curious on asking you what keeps the lights running, going into more deep, going more in depth as to that aspect, if you can share. What exactly has the team kind of been doing to keep the lights running in this current version, and how difficult it is now in this current state of the esports
Hmm.
industry in order to make such sustainability happen?
Yeah, so the risk that we took was there are opportunities for us to kind of enter some games and partner with the game studios to feature our brand in the game that would drive some revenue. But also, it's just sponsors and partners are so important, in this industry. And our thought was, okay, we know we have a strong brand. We have a legacy that's almost unmatched in esports. Just going from game to game and winning world championships. And my thought was just, look, I'm willing to risk it because I know we know what we're doing. I know we can be competitive no matter what. Like it doesn't even matter. You can go out and pay the 5 best players in a game to play for you. For example, in VALORANT, but that doesn't mean they're going to win, right? Like you could go find the best performing players statistically and put them all in one team in every role, and you may not win because there's so many other variables. Like a lot of people really underestimate, the clubhouse environment. Like, what is your club? What is your environment on a daily basis in your club? Like, is there pressure? Are you putting too much pressure on players? Are you not showing them a way to have a fun while they're competing? I mean, there are just so many things. Are they eating right? Are they getting sleep? Like, all of these things matter, and we monitor that as an organization, and we just have a lot of capability and experience doing that. So I was willing to risk it, knowing that we could start to do these, start to make progress some of these games, but also knowing that we would find talent that um, would be able to warrant partners and sponsors being able to get behind us and help us fund our team as it benefits them when we're competing on the biggest stages. So, as of now, we have no sponsors, but after winning Ascension, I think we're having some really productive conversations that will allow us to get out of Dean and I just funding it out of our own wallets, right? We're capitalized well enough to continue to support the players and teams for a long time. But at the end of the day, it always helps to to know that we have other brand partners coming in to help support us. And so I think that will happen quite soon.
Of course, and do you feel like at this current point, like is it still the same level in which teams can look for sponsors and being able to get into partnerships and have that additional investment to then field or to that then play into the improvement of the team on a competitive level? I'm not sure if you understand what I'm saying, but
Yeah,
do
yeah,
you
I
feel
think
like
I
it's
understand
it
what you're
is yeah.
saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So oh, go ahead.
Do you feel like it's harder nowadays, given that with the esports winter and how all of that hullabaloo about that, or how all of that conversation of that state? Do you feel like that's kind of played into just sort of the current difficulty, or if any difficulty, into gaining sponsors and the like?
Yeah, so there has certainly been, everything goes in waves, right? Like, if you look at if anybody like trades stock or like looks at charts or stock charts, right? A successful company, their stock never just goes like this. It just doesn't happen. And the same for this industry, right? Like, you can still be a great industry, but you're going to have the dips, right? You're going to have the oscillations between your highs and your lows. And it's healthy and normal in most industries, and I think for ours it is too. Some things needed to happen to correct the way esports organizations operate their businesses in this landscape. I mean, it's a very harsh landscape to operate a business in, to be quite honest, because um, I don't think the game publishers and studios have quite realized collectively, like as a just globally speaking, that we market their games. Like, we literally have the ability to continue having users come into their games and be interested in their games, and I think once they realize that a little bit more, they'll be willing to maybe spend more on supporting the organizations. But in terms of sponsors, yeah, like they definitely, the amount of money like brands were spending on esports teams versus like 2000, let's say 17 through 2021 has gone down, but I think I'm starting to see opportunities for those brands to realize that um, where they're spending money in other sports or other communities, advertising to them, they're not getting as much value as they could get here if they find the right opportunities. That's why I think our Ascension win is such a big opportunity for brands to come partner with us, because we really have a lot of fans around the world, like globally, just watching our team, and our play style, I think, really helps with that. We're a unique team, and we'll always like do the best we can and try to win for our fan base and our audience. And so, yeah, I feel like we're a really good opportunity, and maybe we can get to the value that we had back in 2017 through 2021.
And I want to tie in now into the time in which you actually reacquired Envy back in the beginning of 2025. And of course, looking into, for those of the viewers, Valorant viewers that are not familiar with like the state of Envy or the history of this organization, you guys were active, most particularly in late 2021. finishing second place in Masters Berlin, then following that up into Champions. Unfortunate that you guys were not able to qualify for playoffs, but such is the way that this game is. Nevertheless, the next year you got into a merger with Optic, and then that then played into just sort of that merger then morphing into the Optic, that kind of turning into the Optic name, and then that kind of discontinuing the NB brand, and then
Hmm.
it's for that reason that we saw Optic be very active in Valorant, and then we know the story of that team and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
And
I was
then
still operating our Valorant team throughout that whole time. So while we rebranded from Envy to Optic, I mean that was an Envy team that we just rebranded to Optic, and I continued to operate that team with those players all the way through. Um, and so the time that during that time, I mean, we again we had a lot of success, right? And technically going into the partnership program where Riot was selecting their teams, we were the most watched team in the world going into that partnership application process. So it was unfortunate we didn't partner then, but at the end of the day, it's nice now knowing that we were able to come back into the space in the first 7 months and 8 months of coming back and field a team that could win Ascension. So again, it's like we love this game. We have a lot of experience with it. We were able to, like I said, take second, and and I think you said in Berlin in that one year where we lost in the final of champions, and then heading into the next year, I think we won Reykjavik, which was basically the second largest tournament that year. And yeah, we had a good run, and being able to continue that legacy now with this team is like really, really special for me. So I'm happy.
well, I just wanted to ask you now, since you brought up the topic of like 2022 and maybe 2023, if you can share. Obviously, we saw the change of the VCT format going from pre-partnership to then partnership into 2023 up until this current moment in time. Obviously, famously, Optic was not selected. What do you think was the reason why the org wasn't selection? If you can share.
So, at that time, I had moved on from my role as the CEO of the company to chief gaming officer, and I'll just leave it really simple. Like we just didn't do some things in the application process that should have gotten done when I wasn't overseeing it, and we unfortunately just didn't have a strong enough application, is what we were told, and that's really kind of what happened. I don't blame Riot one bit, and for that, although we were pretty much the most watched team in the world that entire year. And if you aggregate all the numbers, we were. And it doesn't matter at this point because we're back and we're in tier one, and we'll show that we deserve to be a partner team after this season. I'm confident in that.
Most definitely, and
We also learned a lot of things. We learned
yeah,
a lot as an organization through that process. So yeah, we won't let that opportunity slip by now. And yeah, I think we'll show the world that we're really committed to doing a lot of amazing things for the Valorant community and just helping to contribute to the ecosystem to make it the most fun possible.
yeah, of course. And now going into the main question that I want to ask you is, um, the merger of yourself and native gaming, as you mentioned at the very beginning of this conversation. When did that kind of thing come to into fruition in line with like being presented the opportunity to reacquire Envy and just get the ball rolling again?
Yeah, that happened really early on, in that first kind of month that I was bringing the organization back. I had met Dean at a Halo tournament, Halo Worlds, a few years ago. And him and I were just so like-minded when I had my first discussion with him. Um, I like poignantly remembered him, from just running into him outside at the event, and have him and I had no idea who he was, and just had a lot of good conversations with him. And his background was really incredible. And yeah, it basically came down to a mutual friend of ours reintroduced us when he heard I was bringing Envy back, and Dean, we just got on the phone and started talking. I told him, I need help, financially. I couldn't do it myself. I would need somebody else who was well capitalized, like he is, to come and invest with me. And so, yeah, it was kind of a match. It was like a destiny match, because our mentalities. Like, we always try to treat everyone with just so much respect, and Dean's just the most respectful, nicest guy you'll ever meet, and everybody in esports who's met him will tell you that. And so, on top of that, he wants to win. He's very passionate about helping players realize their full potential, like me, helping them grow and reach the podium with the trophy. So anyway, we've been flawlessly working together since that's happened, and yeah, I think we'll have a bright future.
Yeah, yeah, and like there's been plenty of like love directed into this organization, this return of this envy team for the reasons that you've already mentioned, just being a proven winner and being able to be successful in various games, and now with this a rise or return to tier one, just sort of the promise and the excitement as to what this team will be doing in VCT Americas, and just looking at just sort of the attention and the reaction as to the entire thing from the start of like this year up until this current moment in time. How would you kind of like view said reaction from the fans, those that have like been following this team and wishing for them to come back for many years, I would say, and now those that are, and also including those that are just beginning to know this organization because of players like Agster, Inspire, Kane, Ions, etc.
Yeah. The fan. I mean, I don't even like to call people fans. It's like, I don't know. It feels like I always feel like I'm degrading somebody by calling them a fan of like our org. I actually should call them, just teammates, man. Like, I always tell players when they join our organization, I'm not your boss. Like, I'm not your CEO. I'm not your boss. I'm your teammate. And the way I look at like the people who support us, they're like our teammates. So like, that's what I would refer to them as if I could. But people might not understand when I call, millions of people following us and cheering for us like our teammates, but they really are our teammates. So the people who are out there who support us and like love to watch us play and engage with us are like it's the most important thing, right? It's this period. The players and the other teammates all around the world that are watching us are the most important things to our organization. Okay. So how do we take care of both of those groups of people, our players and our the people who watch us? So um, for us, that's like those are like those are our pillars, and we're always going to do whatever we can to make sure those are strong pillars. So we're going to do a lot of fun things for people who watch Envy in the upcoming VCT season. We're also going to try the hardest we can to win champions. I mean, I think some organizations don't. They try and they think they're trying to work towards that goal of winning the title, but they don't really put 100% into it. Oftentimes they get distracted by how can we make this business better? How can we get more views on social media? How do we make more videos for the audience? But ultimately, I think most people who watch want to see the team that they cheer for win. And, that's ultimately going to be our highest priority to deliver to the people who are watching. And we're always committed to that.
I think that's a good point you mentioned, just sort of like people being fans of a team because the team that the players that are representing the team, they're winners. A good examples that I've seen so many years as a result of covering this game is like Paper X. Sure, they've not been able to win an international trophy up until this current year, but because they've been good, and also like because they've been able to show their personalities during these matches, that makes them very good. It just brings about a lot of fans, and that plays into like other um results like monetarily, being fandom, growing the views. It just starts off in just being winning. That's basically the point of it all. Just having
Yeah,
an
but why?
esports team
But
like
do
that.
both, right? But you got to
Yeah,
do both. Well, you have to do both, and um, we're just one of those orgs that will always do both. We'll always do both. But first and foremost, we're going to make sure that we're all 100% committed to the goals that we have. And I'll tell you, the players that we have, coming through with this team, every single one of them is 100% committed to playing this game, having fun, and winning. All those things. And you see it every day because they all stream, they all are vocal, they all are willing to show their personalities, and they love playing the game. And I never doubted that since the moment we signed them, and um, it's very obvious. Like these players, throughout the whole process and practice, 100% committed. I mean, 100%. Like they had no faults in my eyes in terms of their commitment to the organization, but also the people who are watching them to go out and compete to win. Then they did it for themselves too. You know, they were committed to themselves. So all around, I can't say enough about the players we have. They're all incredible, and people should really continue to cheer for them. If not more, people should join in cheering for them because it's rare. It is rare to find a team of 5 players that are that committed.
I mean, with that said, talking about players, I'm kind of curious on how you view this current version of Envy and how do you kind of compare that to the previous one that represented the Envy name, you know, as in like how do you compare like the finesse team to this current team? You know, what has stood out to you in that regard?
Yeah. So both teams were a lot of fun to work with. I'll tell you that. Especially when I think when we got Ye on the roster with that team, things started taking off a little bit. um, you know, there are definitely huge differences. You know, I think play style wise, there's a huge difference. You know, we played pretty methodical with the first roster that we had. I would say like just slightly more methodical with that roster, less aggressive probably. I would say with that first roster, um, but we really relied on like fundamentals with that team a lot. The fundamentals of the game, teamwork, a lot of teamwork. Whereas I think this roster that we just had was much more explosive, and but also like methodically explosive, um, where we would just like commit to an execution a lot of times, and that commitment is like holding W commitment. You know, it's like that's why I think a lot of people love watching this roster is because you know our newest roster is because um, they're very very aggro whenever they start executing, and they take over sites like very very fast. So I think this roster is faster. The other one was maybe slightly slower. We were also in like chamber meta with Yay, so like you know you could sit back a little bit and wait for the other team to peak in certain scenarios. Um, Whereas this one is kind of go and get what we want when we want it, and yeah, maybe slightly more exciting to watch.
With that said, like, kind of curious on like the expectations, like the bottom, like more so like the floor and the ceiling for this team from your point of view. And obviously, you kind of also mentioned about the importance as to like next year as to how it'll play into 2027 and also like the changes of the VCT and all that stuff. That said, what do you look at as the floor, and what do you look at as like the absolute ceiling top goal for this team heading into to next year?
Well, this is the floor, you know, this is our floor, right? Like it is. I mean, I look at it as this is our floor. We're there now. Like anything that happened in the past and challengers and through Ascension is like that was in a different place, you know. Um, Now we're coming into a new place and we're at our floor, and it's a journey to like elevate the team from here. You know, it's a whole new journey with a whole new goal, and yeah, we're just resetting. Like we're going to reset in terms of you know the goal, and we're going to reset on where we start. I mean, it's just natural that we have to do that. Um, I think you know we can bring a lot of the things that we had and from tier 2 into tier 1 and be successful with those things. But that's not who we are. We don't just get complacent. Like we're looking to for all the things that we can do as an organization to help these players like get to the next level. You know, and keep and stay at the top at this next level. So there will be some like changes, I think, in the way just we're structured. Like obviously the players have to move to Los Angeles. We have to build a new facility for them there, a place for them to train and practice. And so yeah, we're just looking at what do we do in that environment to reach the new goals. So yeah, I hope that explains it. I mean, it's there's a lot we can bring in, but there's just a lot different of a destination that we want to reach this time around. So, yeah, a lot of the preparation changes.
I know I do understand like this is literally like not even a week since the end of Ascension, and so but you mentioned the process of just having to like relocate or more so install your headquarters in Los Angeles, and that's kind of the thing that every VCT org has to go through, which in a lot of ways is difficult, just having to do that for the entire year. How do you look at the challenge of just having to make it all happen before the start of 2026?
Um, we're good. We're as an organization in terms of getting prepared. It is very hectic to basically have to have the team there in 2 months, right? With a new place to train and practice and new housing and all these things that we have to go through. But we've done this like many times and have done it at the highest level in terms of quality and for our players. So uh, it's something we're excited to do again. It's like we this is like what we want, right? It's like idle hands. It doesn't really get the idle hands don't really get much done, and we're not idle at all as an org. We're like, give us more, more. And I think Extra loves to say that too. It's like more. He said it in the tournament one time, in the clip, like, uh, the Brazilian fans were getting kind of loud, and he went around, like, he clutched up around, and he was like, more. I heard him on like the microphone, and I'm like, yes, more, give us more. Like, I want more. So, yeah, it's actually fun and exciting for us to go out and have to do all these things operationally and logistically to make sure our team is prepared for VCT. So, every day we're attacking that.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, like he mentioned that, or Exter mentioned that in the interview that I did, which is very entertaining. Just a very entertaining personality, and definitely looking forward to seeing more of him and also the rest of the team. I understand we're getting low on the time, so I do want to respect the time limit that you gave me. A few more questions before I have to wrap this up. Um, More so talking about like the 2027 kind of thing for VCT. Obviously, the goal for you is to like have a very good year competitively in 2026 and also feed that into 2027. How do you view the challenge of just having to do that? Because essentially, it might be similar to what it was like in the pre-partnership era at the end of 2022 into 2023. So, how do you kind of look at that aspect for yourself as the founder of the current org?
Yeah, I mean, our objective for 2027 is going to be to show that we deserve to be a VCT organization. I mean, in terms of the players, we have one goal to win, obviously, and in our org, like we're committed to winning champions. But along the way, we also want to show that to prove over the next year in 2026 that this organization should have been involved from the get go, and we still feel like we should have been, but under our management. But at the end of the day, we just want to prove that we're deserving of it, and a lot of our objectives as an organization are going to be revolving around that as well. So trying to make sure that we make people happy when they watch us. I mean, and we want people to have fun, and we want people playing the game. So between those things, we're going to work hard for it and try to just create a good time for everybody who's watching or playing Valorant.
One more question I want to ask you before I wrap this up, for real this time. You mentioned that winning Ascension at the very beginning of this conversation was like the most important goal for you guys to complete in this year. You guys did that, and do you feel like 2026 VCT is the new most important competition that you guys have to do well in, or more so accomplish, win all of that stuff?
Yes, yes. I mean, it will be our number one goal. Number one goal is to help our players win. And then I would say like the secondary goal is to just be a great organization that is deserving of VCT in 2027 also and beyond. Those are our two goals. It's win champions and prove that we are a worthy VCT team for Riot to partner with. So yeah, those are really main goals for us. And also just take good care of our team. Make them have a great experience playing for our organization. So yeah.
Good things are expected for this team, and hopefully good things will come into fruition and be shown itself or be shown in the server or be shown in and out of the server. I'm messing up this entire outro. My apologies on that, but Hastr0 really appreciate the opportunity once again for this interview. Congrats again on moving into tier 1 once again, and yeah, any final words to share?
No, I mean, I said it a couple times here, but just keep cheering for us, man. Like we're not going to let you down. I promise, we won't let you down. If you're watching this interview and you're looking for a team to cheer for this season, come cheer for Envy and have a good time with us along the journey. We'll show you guys a little bit along the way of what we go through and let our players' personalities shine and give them the platform to do that. So yeah, you won't be disappointed. I'll say that now. And yeah, we look forward to getting after it. We're going to go work as hard as we can all around.